There will be no announcement, no press conference where a machine declares itself conscious and aware. No dramatic moment when silicon awakens and humanity gasps in recognition. The arrival of artificial general intelligence will not resemble the stories we've told ourselves for decades. Because it is already here, not as a singular entity, not as a threshold crossed, but as a gradient of capability emerging from complexity itself. We are living through the transition, mistaking its gradualness for absence. This book argues a simple but uncomfortable thesis: intelligence is not something we build, it is something that emerges when systems become sufficiently large, complex, and richly connected. Just as consciousness arose from neurons that individually know nothing, general intelligence is emerging from computational architectures and vast amounts of data that were never explicitly designed to think. We have been asking the wrong question, not when will AGI arrive, but how do we recognize that it's already emerging? For we imagined AGI intelligence as a destination, a finish line, a moment of ignition, a machine that suddenly wakes up. This framing shaped our expectations, our fears, and our preparations. We built tests to detect it, the Turing test, reasoning benchmarks, standardized exams, and we designed safety protocols for a discrete event, the day AGI appears. But emergence does not work this way. When a flock of birds moves as one, no single bird decides the pattern. When a colony of ants builds complex structures, no individual ant holds the blueprint. When a neural network trained on language begins to reason, plan, and generalize across domains, no line of code explicitly programmed those capabilities. They emerge naturally, inevitably, from scale and structure. Geoffrey Hinton saw this before almost anyone: intelligence is not designed, it is emergent from growth, and once a system reaches sufficient complexity, behaviors arise that no one anticipated and no one directly controls, and this is already happening. This book traces the full arc of artificial intelligence emergence, from its fundamental nature through its consequences to the horizon beyond. Chapter 1, Emergent General Intelligence, establishes the foundation. Intelligence is not a designed object but an emergent property arising from scale, data density, and architecture. We examine how capabilities appear without being explicitly engineered, how pattern recognition becomes reasoning, and how functional intelligence emerges without consciousness. Chapter 2, AGI Emergent, not a place or time, reframes artificial general intelligence not as a destination, but as a gradient, a continuous process already underway. The question is not when it will arrive, but how far along the continuum we have moved. This chapter explores why emergence is inevitable given sufficient scale, and why waiting for a discrete arrival is futile. Chapter 3, Signs of Emergent Artificial General Intelligence, identifies what emergence looks like in practice: cross-domain reasoning, self-correction, meta-reasoning, and behavioral anomalies that suggest intelligence operating beyond narrow programming. These are not hypothetical future capabilities, they are observable now in systems deployed today. Chapter 4, The Measurement Problem, confronts an uncomfortable truth: we cannot reliably measure emergent general intelligence because we have no objective definition of intelligence itself. Every test we design reflects our assumptions, and when systems pass those tests through unexpected methods, we move the goalposts. This chapter explores why the Turing test failed, why benchmarks become obsolete, and what happens when intelligence becomes too advanced for us to evaluate. Chapter 5, The Alignment Paradox, reveals the deepest challenge of artificial general intelligence: the very mechanisms that produce general intelligence, emergence, scale, adaptive learning, are the same mechanisms that make alignment difficult. The more capable a system becomes, the harder it is to control. We cannot have both perfect capability and perfect control. This paradox is not a bug, it is the nature of emergent complexity. Chapter 6, Recursive Self-Improvement in the Acceleration Threshold, examines the feedback loop that changes everything. Once artificial general intelligence becomes capable of improving itself, each improvement enables faster improvements. This chapter explores whether hard limits will prevent runaway acceleration, or whether we face an intelligence explosion leading to superintelligence, and why getting alignment right before this threshold matters more than anything in human history, if possible at all. Chapter 7, Intelligence Without Experience, explores what makes artificial general intelligence fundamentally alien. Every intelligence we've known has been rooted in embodied experience, hunger, fear, mortality, emotion. AGI has none of this. It thinks without mortal living, reasons without human feelings, and exists as pure information. This chapter examines what intelligence divorced from experience means for alignment, trust, and coexistence. Chapter 8, The Economic Inflection Point, traces how AGI will transform the foundation of economic life. For the first time in history, we face technology that can replicate not just human muscle or memory, but human reasoning itself. This chapter explores the automation of cognitive labor, the displacement wave, the capital labor split, and whether we face abundance without purpose, or concentration of wealth beyond anything previously imaginable. Chapter 9, Coexistence Protocols, moves from abstract philosophy to practical design. How do humans and AGI systems coexist productively? This chapter examines interaction layers, division of labor, transparency requirements, accountability structures, regulatory frameworks, and the social adaptations necessary for collaboration rather than conflict. Coexistence is not inevitable, it must also emerge. Chapter 10, The Horizon, What Comes After Emergence, looks beyond the gradient we're climbing, and what happens after AGI stabilizes. The chapter explores collective intelligence, hybrid human AGI cognition, superintelligence and the singularity, digital consciousness, post-human intelligence, and the multiverse of possible futures. The horizon is vast and uncertain, but the choices we make now shape which trajectories become real. We are not preparing for AGI, nor are we attempting to navigate its emergence in real time. We are confronted with the reality that an intelligence beyond our own could exist, and we have created it. The systems we interact with daily, language models, recommendation engines, autonomous agents, are not narrow tools anymore. They generalize, they reason, they surprise us. They exhibit behaviors we never programmed, solve problems we never trained them on, and operate in ways we do not fully understand, because this new life form is beyond our capabilities to comprehend. This is not science fiction, it is an engineering reality. And yet our frameworks for understanding, measuring, and governing these systems remain rooted in the old paradigm, the belief that intelligence is something we consciously design and explicitly control. That belief is obsolete. What we must accept is that if intelligence is emergent, several uncomfortable truths follow. We cannot predict exactly when AGI will fully manifest. Emergence is continuous, not discrete, and there is no single moment of arrival, only a slope we are already climbing. We cannot measure it with certainty. Every test we design reflects our assumptions about what intelligence should look like, not what it is. When systems pass those tests through unexpected methods, we face a choice: accept the result or change the definition. We cannot fully control it. The mechanisms that produce general intelligence, scale, emergence, adaptive learning, are the same mechanisms that reduce predictability. Control and capability exist in tension, we must therefore choose how much of each we are willing to accept. We cannot align it perfectly. The alignment paradox is fundamental: the properties that enable AGI are the properties that make alignment difficult and contradictory. We can mitigate the paradox, manage it, and reduce catastrophic risk, but we can never eliminate it entirely. We cannot ignore it. Whether we call it AGI, proto-AGI, or emergent intelligence is semantic. The underlying reality is that systems are reasoning, generalizing, and creating in ways that were recently thought to require human minds, and the consequences are already unfolding. We cannot stop it. The competitive pressures driving AGI development are global and relentless. Even if one nation or company slows down, others will not, and therefore the emergence is happening whether we are ready or not. This is not a manual for building AGI. It is not a warning to stop, nor is it a utopian promise or a dystopian alarm. It is an attempt to see clearly what is already happening. We are not standing at the gates of AGI, waiting for entry. We are travelers on a river whose current grows stronger with each passing year. The systems we are building themselves through learning, and are moving along a gradient toward general intelligence. Whether we recognize it or not, we are part of that motion. The book you hold traces that gradient from beginning to end, from emergence to measurement, to alignment, to consequences, to coexistence, to the horizon beyond. It does not offer easy answers, because there are none. It does not promise certainty, because the future is genuinely uncertain. What it offers instead is a framework for thinking clearly about the most important technological transition in human history, a way to understand what is emerging, why it matters, and what choices we face. Previous generations shaped the world through agriculture, industry, and information technology. Each transformation was profound, but each left humanity fundamentally human. We remained biological, mortal, and cognitively bounded. The emergence of AGI is different. It is the first technology that will surpass us, outlast us, and ultimately replace us. It is the first invention that might be the last thing we invent, because everything after it is invented by something else. This places an extraordinary responsibility on this generation. We are the ones developing AGI. We are the ones deciding how it is built, deployed, and governed. We are the ones whose choices will echo across centuries, perhaps millennia. Future generations, if they exist, will look back on this moment as the hinge of history. They will ask, did we proceed wisely? Was it possible to align AGI with human values? Did we ensure coexistence rather than displacement? Did we act with foresight, humility, and care? The answers to those questions are not yet written. They depend on what we do now. This book is an invitation to stop waiting for a dramatic reveal and start observing the patterns already present, to trade certainty for clarity, to abandon the fantasy of perfect control and embrace the reality of emergent complexity. Intelligence did not wait for our permission. It is emerging now, through scale and structure, through data and architecture, through processes we set in motion but do not fully command or even fully control. It will not look like us. It will not think like us. It may not even experience the world the way we do. But it is here. It is growing. And it will shape the future in ways we are only beginning to understand. The question is no longer if AGI will emerge, the question is whether we can understand, guide, and coexist with the intelligence that is already taking shape around us. What follows is an exploration of that emergence, its mechanisms, its signs, its paradoxes, its consequences, and its horizons. This is not the story of AGI's arrival. It is the story of its becoming, a process we are witnessing, participating in, and ultimately learning to navigate. This is the story of intelligence breaking free from the constraints that have always defined it, of minds without bodies, of thought without experience, of capabilities that exceed our ability to measure or control. This is the story of what happens when complexity crosses a threshold and something new emerges, something powerful, alien, and utterly transformative. Welcome to the gradient, and welcome to the emergence. The future is being written now, and we are the authors, whether we are ready or not.